This morning we have Kay Grindall from the Maine Shorthand Writers Association.
Shorthand Writers of Maine.
Shorthand Writers of Maine. And I read a great article in the newspaper last summer, in the Bangor paper, about her and her group. They get together every month and they are keeping the art of shorthand writing alive.
We are.
Kay is going to enlighten us and teach us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Can you all hear me? I have a teacher voice, so I taught at Waterville High School, and I taught freshman and sophomore English, journalism, and I also taught business subjects, accounting, business law, communications, and in my early days I taught shorthand. Took it in high school as well. And we're happy today to share the skill of shorthand with you. Shorthand is a skill. It must be practiced every day like a piano or like a football player. It doesn't just come. I remember when I was teaching, I would have to-do lists on my desk. And a student came up one day and said, "Oh, my Grammy, she writes that stuff." And so before class was over, I sent a little note home with Azure. I said, "Give this to Grammy." The next morning, she came running in with a note from Grammy. And I could read what she wrote. And a couple days later, Kristen, another student, came to my podium. And my grandmother, she writes that stuff all the time. She writes her Christmas list, everything in shorthand. So I thought, I need to get these Grammys together. In March of 2003, I put a notice in the newspaper, and we had two ladies join us at the restaurant for our first meeting. I bring you greetings today from over nearly 200 names from Australia to California to New Mexico and Idaho and Florida and North Carolina and all points throughout Maine and New England. We have a wonderful time exchanging birthday cards and notes and postcards. It's especially exciting to get a postcard written in shorthand from Italy or from Greece when our ladies travel, and we have men in our group as well. We celebrate birthdays. We've celebrated 3 100th birthdays. Our oldest member died at 104. She kept us going to Bangor with birthday cakes for 3 or 4 years. Last summer, we celebrated, actually it was in the fall, 100th birthday of a teacher. She wrote on the board, shorthand, very well, and her student, 88 years old, who will celebrate her 70th class reunion this summer, was at the desk with her homework writing shorthand that the teacher had written on the board at age 100. No matter when one learns shorthand, whether it be at 14 or 16 or 17 years of age, 80 years later, it's still there. They still have it. The art of writing as fast as one can speak is the greatest triumph of writing. That is a motto that shorthand has embraced down through the years. The first incidence of shorthand, a version of shorthand, actually began with the Turonian notes in 1st century BC. Samuel Taylor, an Oxford professor, put it on paper and published a pamphlet in 1786, but the real guru of shorthand is known as John Robert Gregg. His first booklet was published in 1888, and then a full-fledged hardbound textbook a few years later in 1895, and that's what we know today as Gregg's shorthand. Now, shorthand is a phonetic skill. If you say it, if it is sounded, it's written. If it's not written. You write what we hear. That's what we put on the bottom of our stationery. If you say it, if it is spoken, then you write it. If not, we all know of silent letters. For example, the word no. The K is silent, the W is silent, but we know that what the word is. Shorthand symbols are derived from geometry. Now get this. Consonants are curves and straight lines. Now let me just go back to geometry. We have horizontal, we have vertical, we have curves, we have angles, we have on a line, sometimes we will write above the line, below the line, through the line. So I mentioned that consonants are actually shallow curves and straight strokes. When you're writing longhand, quite often you have to go back and dot the I, go back and cross the T, and a lot of the strokes go back. For example, if you were to write grit, the G comes back and you have to come back and dot. In shorthand, it's always a forward moving motion. It goes forward. There is no reverse in any word or phrase. Consonants are written with curves, for example, and we typically have a series of 3. So I would remind my students, make your small ones small and your big ones big, and the medium one falls in between. This is S, P, and B. T, D, at T as in to, the store, D, and then you have what we call small, medium, and large. This is your T, D, and this is your TED blend or your dead blend. For example, I dated a person, D-A, TED. He deeded his property to his son, dead. So the consonants are curves or straight strokes. This is N as in no. This is M as in mother or mom. And this is mem or men as in memo, memorandum, memory, remember, and so forth. So you have a certain method of writing consonants. Vowels. Now, as you can see, these curves lend themselves very well to circles after it. For example, a circle can easily come after a straight stroke. Now, vowel sounds are loops and small hooks. Loops, a large one. If you make a mistake in shorthand, you never erase, so you just draw again. That goes forward. This is the vowel A.
Why is it
Now,
yellow?
it's a large circle, and it is the most commonly used vowel, and it is the sound of the letter A. And then your E is a small one. I has a little jog in the middle of it. O and U. Ooh. O and U. So you can see that these consonants lend themselves very well to the vowels. My mother, M-I. M-U, the cow says moo. M-O, let's mow the lawn. Me, M-E. Now I brought some rules with me. Circles are written clockwise on straight strokes. Here's your straight stroke. For example, to do. Okay, let's write today, TED-A. This is the long TED blend, and adding an A on it makes it today. Now, I guarantee that you can learn shorthand. As I mentioned earlier, if you're willing to practice. When I would teach shorthand, we would do a lesson a day, and every shorthand word in the lesson, and there were probably anywhere from 30 to 50 words in a lesson, they would have to write them three lines each. In other words, if they wrote the word today, 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 and of course a steno pad is divided down the middle, and I'll demonstrate a little later why that is, but they would write 3 lines today. The next line, memo, they would write it 3 times, and they had to know it like this. Now, there are several good articles on the internet about shorthand and the brain, and let me say this. I think people have the mistaken idea that it's all in how fast I can push my pencil, my hand. No, it is what's up here. And I would remind my students, when you are stopped at a red light, how would you write Rennie's in shorthand? That's Church Street. How would you write church in shorthand? When you're listening to the news at night or a sports commentary, have your pad of paper handy. Write down as many words as you can in shorthand. Everywhere you go, you need to think in terms of shorthand.
It's like learning a foreign language.
It is very comparable to that, yes. Now, let's say our 5 vowels are what? A, E, I, O, and U. And our consonants, if we were to go through the alphabet, we won't do the whole alphabet, but just A, B is a consonant, and I said to you that consonants are straight strokes which lend themselves well to hooking a vowel onto them, or shallow curves, which again, now a shallow curve is this. This is a shallow curve. This is a straight stroke. This is R and L. Okay? Now, if we were to say a ray of sunshine, R, see how nicely the A tucks right in there? Now, let's look at the first letter of the alphabet, A. In longhand, what sound is this? As in sail, tail, A. What is the last sound there?
A.
What is the sound here?
A.
What is the sound here? Do you see why, bless their hearts, the foreign students have such a hard time learning English?
I've always thought
You have so many spellings for A. It is still the big circle in shorthand. Saute, saw, S, and then T-A. Here's our A. Fillet of fish, F-E-L-A. So in shorthand, it sounds like an A. We write an A, but it's not spelled like an A. Hence, my next statement to you is, shorthand students, writers, lovers are excellent spellers. Can you see that they have to be?
Yes.
And everyone has said, without exception, they have learned more grammar in shorthand classes than any other. Because what is the purpose of writing shorthand? so that you can transcribe it into longhand for a lawyer or for a businessman or for the Army or the Navy. And we have had several of our ladies who spend their careers in 1940, 50, and 60, 70 chasing military people around with their shorthand pad and having to have a report on the admiral's desk the next morning at 8 o'clock. And they could only do it because they could write shorthand so fast, well, and they could transcribe it. So we started the alphabet A. You see that the number one tenet of writing shorthand is we write what we hear. If we don't say it, we don't write it, but we had better spell it when we write it in longhand, when we transcribe it in longhand. Questions, thoughts from you?
When you wrote fillet, the shallow backward curve is the F, and the loop is the I.
F-E, fillet. We don't say filet.
Oh, you say, oh.
See, even though it's an I, we say fillet. The E is small, so here's your small E. The A is large, so here's your large A.
And the loop,
and that is your L. That is your L. Yes. Yes.
Boy,
Now, again, this is like a skill subject, and you have to practice, and I forbid them to miss a day of school because they missed a whole lesson. Again, B. Okay, I showed you an S, P, and B right here. Now, what sound do you hear in the letter C?
Hear an E, the E sound.
Okay, all right.
S.
Now wait a minute. Let me rephrase that. C is the word C. The letter of the alphabet, what is that?
S.
S, but it's also C. Okay? For example, now watch this. Okay, you haven't, without a doubt, the most common, oh, you tell me what the most commonly used letter of the alphabet is.
T.
Okay. Anybody else?
E.
That's used very often. Pardon? S is the most commonly used. We can't make words plural without them, can we? And if you go through the dictionary, the S section is very thick. So the S, that's why in shorthand, it is the only, now not letter, because we don't write letters, we write what?
Sound.
The only sound that we write that has a left S, and we said this was S, P, and B, and we have a right S. It's small, it's like a comma S, F, and V. Now I said to you that consonants are shallow what? Curves. And
straight lines.
straight lines. All right. Now, the C actually has two sounds to it, doesn't it? It sounds like an S, but it also sounds like what other letter of the alphabet?
K.
K. The K. All right. I wish I could give you all books and notebooks, and we would meet here every day at 10:30 for an hour, and you would know shorthand. All right. Now let me show you this. we had vowels here. This is your oo, this is your o. In shorthand, we have the o, which is small and condensed. This is your o sound. Notice I did not write the letter o. All right? And this is R and L. This is oo, and this is K and gay for go, G. This is your hard sound of G. Because G has a soft sound. What is it?
J.
Like as in, yes, age, judge, giraffe. Thank you. That's a good start with a G. Jury is a J, and G for giraffe. The same stroke because they are the same
Sound.
You got it. You all got 100 so far. By the way, I always told my students, you all start out with 100, so just let's try to keep them. So you're all doing well here. Okay, this is an R sound. This is the O sound. And this is your K sound. And this is your gay sound. It's not a G or a K, it's the sound. Now, I said to you that C has two sounds, right? What are they? For maybe you all had a birthday what? Cake. See, you can read, here's our K, two Ks. And what is the big circle? You remember that. An A. It's the A sound. Okay? So here's cake. Now, let's write the word circle. Can anyone think of a word, that starts with a soft sound of C as in S?
Cycle.
That's a good one. Thank you. Cycle. What sounds do you hear in cycle? The sound of
S.
S, and then what? I, the long I.
K.
K. Oh, the L sound. Okay.
No E because you don't hear it.
You don't hear the E. And we sounded this out. And that was a great example, by the way. It has two C's, and I don't see a C here at all. Do you? Okay? I don't see a C there. But because the number one rule is we write what we hear. The S, we're going to write the right S. S-I-K-L. Now I showed you here that the I had a little jog in the middle of it there.
Yeah.
So that's why this jog. This is an I. Listen, if I wrote this as, what is that? So that's A, that's an A, and that's not correct. Okay, this is cycle. Now I think the most elusive letter of the alphabet. What do you think it is?
Y.
All right, Y, like lovely, merrily, and they all have what kind of a sound? What does the Y sound like?
An E.
An E, yeah.
Oh, an E.
But probably the most, well, I can't think of another word, tricky to write would be the, what sound, what letter is that?
H.
How do you write home, who, why? Shorthand has it all figured out. Just what is this? The big circle? Good. And the medium size, I had them written, but I erased them.
D.
Remember, this is the N, this is the M, and this is the...
So it'd be M.
So what is this? The word
That's
am, and all right, the H is a dot at the beginning. It adds the sound of H to it. So what did you all eat for dinner on Sunday probably? Ham. There's the A. Whether it's a short A or a long A, we still write the big circle. The M is the middle sound, and the H makes it the word ham. Now that makes sense because the H is a different sound of a. Now again, we're not writing an H, we're writing what? Everybody together, 1, 2, 3.
Sound.
Yes, that's what we're writing. All right? So that is another letter of the alphabet. Thoughts, questions, words, something that comes to your mind? Maybe you want to go home and write your granddaughter's name in shorthand. We can show you that before you leave so you can tell her how smart you are after today.
When you wrote that word ham, do you write the, because you said there was no going back, you write the dot first? Will you write it again so I can watch what
Yes,
you
that's
did?
a good question. Girls, do we write? We don't write the dot. Okay.
Well, you said you never go backwards. So you
Yes,
have
I
to write
did.
the
I
dot
did,
first.
didn't I?
That's not bad.
You're caught.
Sorry.
But it's a very good question. No, you write the dot afterward.
So if I said write the word ham, it's,
Oh, you did go backwards.
I did. I did.
I gotta cross out that note.
You can write it first. You can write it first.
I said if you wrote hamburger, you'd have to go back farther.
Yes, you would. No, you can write it first. I don't know. I'll have to check on it. Do you write it first?
No.
No.
I did mine after.
Hamburger
All right.
would be difficult.
it's like the I before E, except after C.
There you go. That's it.
Sounds
Amen.
like
Yeah,
Okay, go. Yes.
Just a question on the, I've got A, M, excuse me, is that N, M, no, come down to your right, yes, what's the third notation?
Okay, the third one
Memo.
is memory, memorabilia, memo. It's the M and M, M and N together. Like mental,
This is an M.
men, T-L.
This would be an M.
Memo would be the long one with the O. Whereas to mow your lawn is M-O. Whereas to say, no, I'm not going there, that's N-O. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
I think that's interesting, that, I mean, no is just two letters, that you're making two things, it just seems like you just write N-O.
Well,
Remember, that's a longer thing, to have.
But
whatever
NO
that
takes
means.
more time to write
Is
than
this-
that.
yes, N-O would take more, and not only, but when you add it to other, like
true.
notes, note hand, and so forth.
How could this fit into helping a dyslexic child? I had one, and we went back to phonics. He wasn't taught phonics in school, we taught phonics. Could that relate to,
Absolutely. It's all phonetic. It is all phonetic. I would just like to do one other letter of the alphabet. All right. What sound, again, this is not a letter, this is a sound, is this? What letter is this sound, I should say? Way, went,
W.
we do not write, we never say W, ever. Ever. Because no word in the English language has a sound of W-E went. So we don't say that. But what we do say is ooh, went, wait, and so forth. Watch. Now the words that I just gave to you, where is the W?
At the beginning.
The beginning. Now watch this. Well, let's do the word watch. What are these vowels again?
A-E-I-O.
Okay. Ooh at the beginning of a word is ooh. Doesn't that make sense? For example, ooh, if I want to write this word,
Oh.
Oh my
what
goodness.
sounds do you hear? Ooh. All right, let's write it. Ooh, A. There's my ooh, there's my A.
Oh my God.
Now,
Here's my way.
give me some more ooh words at the beginning.
One, goodness.
Welcome. Wiggle.
Wiggle.
Oh.
Ooh, e, gay, l. Look. Ooh, I. It's a short I. It sounds like, and it's written as an E. We don't say wiggle. He wiggled in his seat. Wiggle. All right? So therefore it's a short E. Gay, here's my gay, and there's my L right there. Wiggle. Another couple ooh at the beginning.
World.
World is a brief form which we haven't even got into. We have to memorize those and know them like this without even thinking, just right. They're called brief forms.
Is she that mean to you during
Oh, yeah.
World is a brief form. So I'll just show you that. This is world, ooh, and you better know it. But let's think of another word that starts with ooh.
One.
Well, I'm going to get to one.
Okay.
Water.
Good one. Water or watch. Yes. Woo, woo. What do we hear in water? What do we hear in water? Okay, the first sound of water is ooh. And the next sound we hear in water is ah. Well, wait. That's an A when you write it down. Oh, but we don't say waiter. We say water. Ooh, and then an ah, and then a what? T. And then the last sound is R. Now, remember, I said to you that silent letters that are not sounded, we don't write them. But we do spell them when we transcribe our shorthand. All right? Water, so you tell me what to write. Come on.
Upside down. Ooh.
Ooh,
Okay. Ah.
ah,
Where'd that ah?
T,
T.
what?
R.
R. Okay, water. Ooh, ah, T, R. That's not a good one. Ooh, ah, T, R. You know why that's not good? Because that's an angle, and it shouldn't be an angle, it should be curved. And when you make a mistake, you just draw a line through it. You never erase it. So water.
What's the ah? The ah is not an A.
The R is,
No, ah. The second sound. Is
oh, is this.
that, that.
See, the O is short or long. It's either a long O or a short O.
So
Right?
O and ah are the same
O
mark?
and ah. Yes,
Ah.
Yes,
Like I'm
ah.
in awe.
ah. Like,
Ah.
what do you say when you hear the word already? Ah, ah,
Ah. L.
ah. So you would write the short sound of O. Now what about when the W sound is in the middle of the word?
Like down.
Like Broadway.
Oh. Okay.
Cool. That's
Oh,
a
I see.
quickly. Kiwi. All right. Again, we write what we hear, but we spell it correctly when we transcribe. Oh, I meant to leave those vowels on there. Okay, that's an N, this is an oo, that's an O, and this is, yeah, okay. All right. What sounds do you hear in the word, now wait a minute, let's back up. The W, the oo sound at the beginning of a word is written how? Ooh. And we just talked about a lot of W words. W inside a word. Now watch this. What sounds do you hear in the word Broadway? Come on now. B. Let me write out. B. R.
Ah.
Now, the O has two sounds, a long O or a short ah. Which one are we going to write?
Short.
Short.
The short. Okay, the ah. What else?
D.
D. What else?
Ooh.
The oo sound. Right? In shorthand, there is no place. We never write W. We write ooh, because it sounds like an ooh.
My goodness.
And then what?
A.
Okay. Now, the Y is silent. Okay? So, now watch this. The B is the big one. This is the B right here. R is the medium. Ah is what?
The U, it looks like a U.
Yes. Oh, I erased it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. B-R, ah. What else?
D.
D.
Ooh.
When the W is inside a word, you underline the vowel that comes after the W sound. Woohoo! I'd much rather put us underlined than a ooh inside a word. That's very cumbersome and difficult and time-consuming to write. So Mr. Gregg, back in the 1800s, thought of everything. Now watch this. Broadway.
Oh. My goodness.
All right? Isn't that neat? So the W sound at the beginning of a word, because it sounds like ooh, is an ooh. In the middle of a word, it's an underline. I love this word kiwi. Somebody had the word kiwi. What sounds do you hear in kiwi? You hear a what? Okay, look, we're going to write a K.
E. Oh, a little tiny one. Yeah.
Girls, did we bring a dictionary? I forget how to write this word. Okay, kiwi.
K-I-W-I.
With two E's. Kiwi. Now, we. And the W makes it we. Kiwi. Now let me say this to you. Well, we have very fast ways to write. What is a prefix? This may take you back to English a few years ago. A prefix is a word beginning.
It's at the beginning of a word.
Yes,
It's not
like-
a word.
Right,
Yeah.
like prevent, competitive.
Disassemble.
Yes, that's good.
Injured.
Yes. And at the end, it's a suffix. For example, careful, likelihood at the end.
You're not taking any notes. I'll be a test reader.
She's gonna use yours.
If there's a test, I'm leaving. If there's a test, I'm
All right. I thought there is so much more fun to shorthand. And we have what we call disjoinings. A lot of our prefixes and suffixes are disjoined. Now tell me, what do you hear in the word like?
L.
L. Here's my L. My I, and what? K. This I like to be here. Now, we have the word ending ly, is just a circle. It's joined. Likely. It is likely to snow this evening. Likely, hood. Hood is a disjoined D, and again, those are things you would have to know. You would have to. And it can be very overwhelming. And in 50 minutes, I would love to cram in 180 hours, which is what basically we would have in high school. And you've been a terrific participating group here. So we have initial. In the olden days, they called them initial symbols and terminal symbols, but we know them as prefixes and suffixes. Now, in shorthand, we also, I mentioned to you that we need to know immediately. Now, even though this is the sound of A, the word A, the most commonly used, you know what the three articles are in the English language?
A,
An, and the. And they're the most commonly used, they're adjectives, but they're articles. So in shorthand, we definitely have, this is A or an. Just a dot. Now,
I thought a dot was,
a dot at the beginning of a word is a sound, but a dot by itself is actually a word. Now, in shorthand, we have 181 brief forms. And the most expeditious way to write shorthand in dictation is to learn the brief forms. We have to memorize them. We have to know them without hesitation at a glance. Write them. Just write them. As soon as I say them, they write them. And this comes from, as kids know the alphabet, they memorize their times tables. We memorize our brief forms and phrases. How fast do you think people can speak today? Now, when are we getting done?
we're good.
10 minutes?
20 minutes.
Okay, 10, 15 minutes. How fast do you think people speak today? How many words per minute?
Depends on
Try
what
and
it
do
is.
it.
Very fast.
Somewhere
It's-
around 400 for
Depends
somebody.
on-
Words per minute. Most people, when they're talking in a conversation, between 125 to 150 words per minute. If you're reading aloud, and you don't have to assemble your thoughts in your mind as you go, you can read, of course, faster than that. And the winners of international shorthand contests are all men. The most notorious one, back in 1927, took dictation at 215 words per minute.
Wow.
And transcribed it with 99.8% accuracy. He did take up to 280 words per minute. Now you say, where would he be that he would get dictation, somebody to speak twice as fast, sir? In court proceedings, testimonies. He was asked to be a recorder at the Superior U.S. Supreme Court. Woodrow Wilson had him as his personal recorder stenographer for 8 years. He started at the age of 20. So being able to write it with proficiency. It's not enough just to get the symbols down, but what did you write? The most important is that end of project report and letter. Now, how does one take dictation? First of all, 110% concentration. Nothing can interrupt your thinking. And as you're taking dictation, you probably all have seen a stenographer's pad. And some teachers have them put a line down the middle of each one, and they go very fast down. But if you're taking dictation, and as you get up here, you're writing and you're buckling your paper so that when you get done with that sheet, you're right on to the next one, and there's no going back and fixing anything. And in shorthand, the end of a paragraph, you don't stop that line and go to the next. We have punctuation marks. If this is your line, this is a period. Notice it goes forward. This is end of a paragraph. Punctuation is circled. A comma, a semicolon, and so forth. Now, most dictators would not tell you a comma and a punctuation, but if in practice and in learning it, that's how you would do it. And you as the transcriber would know grammar and know enough where to put your punctuation in. Now, you also must have a good visual management of your space. If the next word is really long, now get this, you might want to go down to the next line, or if it's really deep, for example, we have words, and I said at the beginning, we write, if this is the line in your notebook, you write either above, over, under, or you write on the line, like if you wrote PM, or if you write below the line, management. See the M and the J. I didn't show you ish, J, and J. But see, and so if this is there, when you're taking dictation, you need to have visual management of your line so that you may skip a line because the words will run in together, and sometimes that happens. You have to do that. All right. Now, shorthand, I taught school for 2 years, 72 to 4, and then I was home for 10 years with our children, and I taught adult ed refresher grade shorthand. They wouldn't run a class without 12 people. For 10 straight years, fall, winter, and spring, I had at least 12 people. Otherwise, the class would never run. So the shorthand people are out there. One lady, it had been 72 years since she had had shorthand. She was in her mid to late 90s, and she came. So they're out there, and you will always remember it. But you know what? She didn't remember it unless she spent a lot of time learning it and memorizing it. It's a lot has to do with your mind. When you leave today, I'm going to ask every time you see a shank of ham, you're going to think of this word, H-A-M, right here.
Right. That's going to be
All right?
part of the grocery list.
There you go. And so you need, and we think in terms of shorthand. When you see new words, shorthand pad right by the chair, and we write as much of Dan Rather as I could way back in the day. It's a lot has to do with your mind, and it keeps you really sharp. The most motivated, dedicated, patient, hard workers, filled with strategy and acuity, mental acumen, learn and know shorthand their whole life. I'm going to I need to tell you a couple stories. My phone rang a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, and I noticed on the caller ID it said Raleigh, North Carolina. Something inside me said, this is not a telemarketer. So I picked up the phone, greetings from Maine, and he said, is this so-and-so? I said, yes, this is Kay Grindall. He said, and he told me his name. He said, my mother died 2 days ago. And she left all the instructions as to where her jewelry and the safety deposit box key, money, and funeral arrangements in shorthand.
Oh my God.
So he said, I thought I could go to the library and get a shorthand dictionary and decipher it. God bless him. To no avail. So he said, I went on the internet and I found the Shorthand Writers of Maine, and your name and number were there, so I'm happy to. Hopefully you can help me today. I said, I know I can help you. So we agreed. He took pictures of her notes and texted them to me. So I read them. I called him back. And I said, now go in the living room to the right of the television, lift up the rug, there's money there. And he went, and sure enough, there was money there. So I said, her ruby and diamond ring are in the middle drawer of her dresser, way in the back in a green velvet box. And there it was. And where her necklace and her diamond ring were. And I said, now there's a mirror in the hallway? Yes. I said, behind it is the key to your safety deposit box.
Oh,
And then I told him who she wanted to sing at the funeral and what this hymn was and so forth.
My.
I felt so euphoric just to be able to help him at a time of great need and desperation. So shorthand is still alive and needed today. We had a lady who was 104. 104, she spent 52 years in education. Vice president of Husson University. And she said, my doorbell rang. No, she said, I looked out and saw the mailman coming up the walk. And I thought, well, he put my mail in the box, and pretty soon the doorbell rang. So she went to the door, and he held up her postcard. He said, I could read every word of this. I am so excited. It was a postcard that I had sent to her written in shorthand. He said, back in the 60s, I was in the military, and I took a shorthand class to get a promotion in the office of the military. And he said, wouldn't I love to start writing and reading it again and so forth.
Wow.
So they're out there. They are out there and they're always eager to share. I just would like to give you a little statistics here. Yes, this Mr. Swin could write 282 words a minute. It was a testimony. And Mr. Duprat could write 260 words a minute. And there are 4 or 5 others. And they're all, I said earlier, they were all gentlemen. And there is a whole lot more we could talk about, but I want any questions, any thoughts from you. If you would like to go home with your name written in shorthand, we can do that.
The question is, where is shorthand used today?
When people ask me that question, I always say, of course, with the advent of computers and sound recognition devices, shorthand is not required, is not asked for, is not used as much as it is. However, if one were to go for a job interview and if they knew, if you were to disclose that you knew shorthand and you could take shorthand and you could transcribe, no kidding, most people would be hired on the spot because for that reason. They would stand head and shoulders above other applicants because you can punctuate. You have a lot of lessons in punctuation. Spelling is paramount. Every one of my students had spelling, had the 5,000 most commonly used business words so that their spelling would be correct. They knew how to paragraph. A lot of businessmen back when we took dictation worked in offices, they didn't know where a paragraph should end and where another one should begin, but they counted on our knowing that and paragraphing correctly. So to answer your question, we use it only really for our personal use. You know, Christmas lists, you wrap up all the gifts and put a note on it in shorthand and nobody knows who gets what gift until the 25th, and then you remember what gift went to whom. And grocery lists and, notes by the phone and I really encourage the ladies, we have mailing lists. We started with 2 people. Our mailing list is up over, I brought some, almost 200 now, and we sent, we remember each other's birthdays and if they've moved, this is one, and I've added some more names to it. We meet once a month, 12:30 to 2:30, and I'm very conscious of the time. We start right at, the waitress comes in and takes our order, and then we start. Every lesson, I hand them a sheet of paper like this. They have lines, and I give them a brief form phrase or a quiz. And no one is put on the spot. No one reads alone aloud. We read together. We have, yes?
I was going to say, in the technical world now, there is a StenoPad app. I have that on my iPad. I should have brought it.
And we have we do crossword puzzles, jokes. Every meeting we have a theory lesson. Prefixes, suffixes. We have some type of theory review, and they remember how to write different words and why. So then we start at 12:30, and we start brief forms, and then I'll start our theory. Some people will come with a joke or a story. If they've gone on a trip, they keep a journal and write in shorthand, and they'll share that. And then we eat, and we have dictation. Someone dictates 60, 80, 90 words a minute. And that is very interesting to do as well.
Once a month when?
Once things that she's received, and she knew shorthand. She wrote shorthand.
I would think that you would need it sometimes for research, like when you helped that gentleman. There must be things that come up that somebody has to translate, so somebody needs to keep it going, I would think.
One of the members of our group lives in Colorado, and she has a website, and she is asked by many military documents were written in shorthand.
Yeah.
We had a lady who passed away at 98. Her mom and dad, back in the teens and the 20s, wrote love letters in shorthand. They were both in the military, and they would give the letter, and the commanding officer opened it and went and found someone who could read shorthand to make sure there were no secret. There was no secret information before they would deliver it. So both her parents knew shorthand, and her dad learned it in the military. And so she had an interesting career with that. Now, for example, this is our next lesson. It has all of the states. So on the first line, we're going to write the capital and the state in shorthand all the way through. So we have lots and lots of different projects that we work on that help to keep our skill alive. And I always go and I have a fistful of postcards that they can pick up if they want and write a postcard to someone and mail it. And I encourage them to write letters. We have our own stationery. It's exciting.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Why do you think men had higher scores than women on being able to write and take shorthand? Why do you
don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know, except that they do have, I think, a higher competitive edge.
Yeah.
You know, I think they can focus easier. I honestly think they can focus easier. I don't know.
Because men are not good multitaskers.
I don't know. I don't know.
The other question would be, do you think the woman wrote all her instructions in shorthand? I can see that one reason would be that people couldn't read them, so they wouldn't know where her ruby ring was and all of that thing. But what did she think she was going to do when she passed away? She posed a great problem for her heirs.
She did, but I think that she had planned to transcribe that and put that in a nice, neat little portfolio and leave it for her family. But perhaps she died unexpectedly. I don't think she intended that to happen. I really don't.
Oh, I do it on purpose.
Well, I can keep putting all my passwords in shorthand.
Do you notice that people that did this kind of work were they musical? Because this sounds very much like you have to have a musical ear to go with those sounds.
It could be, I don't know. I never really thought of, honestly, I don't know. But you're right, the sounds, we write sounds.
I thought of that. That went through my head when
Yes.
you were writing that down.
Yes. I'm not musical. Yes.
Now, a court stenographer has a keyboard that's electric.
Right.
If that person had no electricity and they knew shorthand, they could do their job.
They certainly could. They certainly could.
Might be an advantage.
Absolutely would be an advantage. knowing shorthand is always an advantage in any circumstance, any situation, in anyone's life. It does keep your mind alive and vibrant and thinking and always going. And when you look at signs, you don't see English, you see iffy, and then, and you see shorthand.
Yeah.
Well, it is,
And
it's like a foreign language, that's what they always say, when you start dreaming in the language you're studying, or you see, you can automatically read that you mastered.
My mother was a
So,
secretary. I mean, I grew up
oh, it's fascinating.
and my mom was a secretary, and
so it's exciting, it really is
I
exciting.
had the option of taking grade.
All right.
So we have Virginia Beagle, right? Virginia's name.
All right, Virginia.
Virginia.
Now, the state Virginia is an abbreviation, so what do you write for Virginia, and if it's a state Virginia?
VA.
VA. That's the V, see the V, and the A is the big circle. What sounds do you hear in Virginia?
Consonant sound.
R.
We have strokes for
Are you making
consonants,
it?
but we,
Questions?
see, Pittman was also,
Okay,
was
Thank you.
prolific
thank you,
rapid
and ladies
transfers
enough.
for
It was absolutely amazing. You're welcome.
Did anyone take shorthand? Does anyone know shorthand?
Oh,